whatever this is. Starting out that last episode, which obviously it's been a while, all the way back in September. That's pretty crazy. Starting out this episode, I totally was not expecting to make the title whatever this is, but kind of like it, kind of stuck with all of us, and so I thought that it might, I might as well just stick with what's familiar. So welcome back to the podcast. It's obviously been quite a bit of time. So September 14th was the last time we all hung out and we actually sat down together and recorded this together. And so obviously I can't be here today with anyone else. So I decided, in spirit of boredom, complete boredom, because I think that's what we are all sitting here and just struggling with, is being unable to go see friends, to go out anywhere, to, go to restaurants or go shopping. Obviously, we are all stuck inside. Hopefully, everybody's staying inside. So I think we're all struggling with what should we do now? It feels like we aren't accomplishing anything, not going out and doing anything. So I thought that I would sit down with you all today and just, talk to myself as one does. So I don't have anybody with me today, which is awfully sad. I do miss all my friends. I do miss all of our lovely members of said podcast. I feel like I didn't introduce myself, actually. So just to clear things up, I'm Ella. I'm your host, as they say. Although I'm not really a host of anything. So just to get this off all of our chests, just to get it out of the way before I really get into this episode, I do want to talk really briefly about the coronavirus, because it's obviously something we're all going through and we're all struggling with. This sucks for sure. I mean, not being able to go out and see your friends, not being able to go to school. For me, I know I've kept in touch with Abby. I've kept in touch with Abby and Lydia and Delia and Jen, who are my co-hosts of this show. I've kept in touch with them, and they're all pretty bummed about the lack of school, and I know that adults are definitely bummed about the lack of work, not being able to provide a salary is definitely stressful, and I totally understand that you're all going through this stressful time. Personally, I'm privileged enough that my parents can work from home, and we're really lucky to have the opportunity to do that. But what's more impressive is the people who do have to be out at the office or in the workforce right now, such as, grocery workers, medical workers, public transportation, and just other essential workers. I'm not great at listing things off, but I definitely appreciate all of you. I think we just need to take a moment to, thank them, because they are genuinely, so incredibly brave for staying out there in this super, super difficult and unprecedented time. It's pretty incredible. Especially, I think I want to thank those most of all in the medical force, because they've been surrounded, by people with the coronavirus every day, trying to, find a cure or vaccine. Researchers, I just really appreciate what they're trying to do for our society and our community. I think it's really incredible what they're doing, and I just want to take a second to truly just let them know that they're appreciated, and you're pretty impressive, you're pretty courageous, all of you, not just the medical workers, grocery store workers, and public transportation, sanitation workers. It's all really incredible what you're out there doing right now, and we all really appreciate it. I know in my community in Denver, we've got the hollering at 8 p.m. and it's a nice gesture, but it definitely is not as good as it could be. I believe that saying thank you, even over 100 times, would not be enough to thank you for the millions and thousands of lives that you've been able to touch. So, and that's not just for my community, that's for every community who's out there working as well. And so it is really difficult for us all to come together as a society while we're practicing this social distancing. Definitely hard not being able to see the people that we love and the people that we care about. Some of them we can't even check in on. So it's a struggle for sure. And the nice thing is that we're all going through it together. So we don't all have to feel completely alone, isolated in our houses. But it's still rough, and something that I think is really important during this time is just relying on a little bit of, comedy and stories and, fun little things to help us all get through it, because, as I've mentioned, we are all incredibly bored, and it's hard because we want to find that entertainment and we want to be able to be fulfilled, but we're stuck inside with the same people every day. And while it's nice to have a little bit more time with family, I'm sure we're all going a little bit stir crazy. My cousin lives in Illinois. She is stuck there with 2 little brothers and 2 crazy parents who are definitely driving her insane. She isn't able to get her license. Neither and I, our birthdays are really close. And I'm sure that she's just going nuts up there, especially with, all the restrictions set around driving. So we're lucky in Colorado to be able to, go outside for essentials. But still a rough patch, I would say. But yeah, I think that a great thing to be able to rely on is stories and comedy. So today, I just wanted to make a little episode to share some old things with you. So as a kid, I always wanted to be a writer or an author, and so I would write a whole bunch of stories. I would write, like nonfiction, little fact things for school, and I would try to see if I could go anywhere with it. But the one thing that I really enjoyed doing was writing some nice old fiction stories, and most of them were like, realistic fiction. I wasn't that into historical fiction. I've never been a huge history buff. But something that I really enjoyed doing was definitely writing, fantasy, realistic fiction, all pretty much based off of the material that I was reading. And this, started all the way back in 3rd grade. So it's been really funny today going through some of my highlights. But I thought, going into this, that I would be interested in sharing with you just a few of the stories that I've written. Some of them are pretty terrible. As you would expect from a 7-year-old girl. One thing that honestly disturbs me a little bit is the fact that I wrote a lot of horror stories, and a lot of them honestly would still give me nightmares. So I wanted to share this first story with you. This one is called Nightmare's Guide, and it was a collection of short stories that I started with my friend Natalie. We still go to school together, we still talk, or, in quotations go, since we aren't really going anywhere at this time. But we started this short story little collection of horror stories, and we were just talking about it the other day. And it's pretty funny to go back and read these and see all the grammatical errors and all the mistakes and plot errors. It's pretty funny. So this is the first one in the collection. Remember, this is called Nightmare's Guide. So this first story is called The Tale of the Twinsies Attack. And I just want to preface this. I have no idea how this came to be. This was made... Well, the last edit was on August 17th, 2016. So it's been quite a while since I revisited this. But I do remember the first time we started writing this, it was 3rd grade. And we've been friends since, which is nice. But definitely we were some weird kids and we were into some weird things. And so here's one example. So the Twinsies, I have no idea where this idea came from. I don't know who came up with this originally, whether it was her or me, but I know that this was based off of a lot of the, little horror tales that you hear on the playground as a kid, like, I don't know, Bloody Mary, and because I used to freak my friends out in the bathroom with that one. I recently did actually freak my friends out with that one in the bathroom as a high school student, so apparently it still works. And I think demons will forever terrify those you love. So anyway, we wanted to terrify each other, apparently. So here is The Tale of the Twinsies Attack, a dramatic reading by me. All right. Once there was a girl named Amanda Green. She moved to an old Victorian house in London. Her uncle died 3 months ago and left it to her in his will. Okay, so I'm going to pause throughout the story. But one thing that definitely bothers me is I have no idea how old Amanda Green is, but I'm pretty sure I haven't read this story in a while. I haven't really read these before recording. But I do remember that she grows up or something. I'm not sure. So I'm pretty sure that if her uncle, who died 3 months ago and left her this house in his will, I'm pretty sure that she, as I don't know how old she is. I think in the story she's supposed to be about 10. But if she's 10, I don't think she'd be moving to the Victorian house alone. I don't think her uncle would have left it to her specifically. It probably would have been to her family. Why did her uncle leave it to her? I just have so many questions already, but I'll give it a chance. Let's just keep going. All right. Amanda finished unpacking and went up in her room to do her homework because it was due in 2 days and she hadn't started yet. Amanda then heard the phone ring in her closet. It was an old-fashioned phone, one you'd find in the 1800s, but it still worked. So I think I'll just pause for a second. I think little Ella needs a bit of a history lesson because I'm pretty sure that phones, weren't invented to actually, let me just look it up to make sure that I'm right. Telephone. When was it invented? I don't know why I worded it like that. Yeah, as I thought, it wasn't invented until 1876, and even then, that was, a pretty outdated version, the rotary phone, and that one wasn't even, I don't know. I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't want to insult my little child self that much because, she didn't know very many things. Ignorance is bliss, as we all know, and so, but it's pretty funny to just, hear some of these great things that I wrote. Although I don't know why the phone is in the closet. That's pretty interesting. And I'm also relating to it was due in 2 days and she hadn't started yet. I mean, it depends on how big this project is, but I feel like I still do that today. So I guess little me had some psychic ability. That's pretty cool. All right, let's keep going. Although I just want to preface this sentence. I just want to say the sentence really quick. So she pressed the speaker button and the caller said, and I won't continue yet, but the speaker button on the old-fashioned phone, I'm really surprised at my lack of knowledge of telephones as an 8 or 9 year old child. That's pretty impressive to be that naive. Okay, so let me continue. She pressed a speaker button and the caller said, "Twinsies, we are the twinsies and we're gonna get you 'cause we're a block away." So that's exactly how I remember saying it as a kid. And Natalie and I used to tell this story on the playground and freak our friends out. I definitely have, very vivid memories of doing this, but I still think it's funny that we just wanted to terrify our friends. So let's just keep going. Amanda was annoyed. "Stupid prank callers," she murmured to herself. She went to go do her homework, but she'd forgot to hang up. "Twinsies, we are the twinsies and we're gonna get you 'cause we're at your house." Amanda was very annoyed. "Ah, stop," she said, shaking her head. But again, she'd forgotten to hang up. So I'm not going to do it in that horribly annoying voice every time. I'll just read it to you. twinsies, we are twinsies, and we're gonna get you because we're on your first step, second step, third step, fourth step, and now we're at your door. Amanda was outraged. Stop it, stop calling me or I'm gonna get... But she didn't have time to finish because there was violent knock at Amanda's front door. I don't know what Amanda was trying to say in that moment. Stop calling me or I'm gonna get... I'm not sure how that sentence was gonna finish. So, truly, she was interrupted, and I would be annoyed too by these twinsies, who, by the way, are spelled Twinzys, which is the best spelling of anything I've ever seen. And I clearly went in here and, corrected Google for trying to correct me, because there's no red line under it. So, I basically told Google that twinsies, spelled the way that I said, is a word, and, I don't know, that was pretty cool of me. Okay. Hands shaking. Amanda turned speakerphone off and hung up. Okay, I'll pause there. Why didn't she hang up in the first place? I just feel like if you heard that and you like stupid prank callers and then you went to go do your homework, but you forgot to hang up and then they were talking again, I feel like you would have, turned the phone off by then. And also, this frickin' speakerphone thing is really becoming very unbelievable. Also, why did she press the speaker button in the first place? Why not just put the phone up to your ear like a normal person? I'm just so surprised at all of Amanda's actions here. But let's keep going. Why not? Let's find out what happens. She gathered her papers and went upstairs, but there was a phone up there too. But the knocking got louder and louder and it wouldn't stop. So she went downstairs and opened the door, but there was no one there. She went back upstairs to do her homework. Immediately, the phone rang and answered by itself. The phone said, Twinsies, we are the twinsies, and we're gonna get you because we're in your room. Amanda, very, very, very scared, slowly crept down the stairs and into her room. Okay, so wait, I'm confused about where her room is in this house, because she went back upstairs to do her homework, but now she's going downstairs to her room? Is she not doing her homework in her room? The phone was in her closet, and that's why I thought she could hear her the whole time. This is becoming very confusing. This is like the most confusing architecture I've ever heard in a story. And it's completely distracting me from, the fact that the twinsies are in her room. Okay, anyway, let's finish. She searched violently, but didn't find anything. How do you search violently? Was she just throwing her clothes against the wall and breaking things? Did she have a guitar and she just broke it over the walls so she could see if the twinsies were in it? I don't know what she is doing to search so violently, but I love that adjective there. But then her closet phone rang and it answered by itself again. Amanda was screaming as she heard, Twinsies, we are the twinsies, and now we're outside. So I'm really confused about these twinsies. What is their goal here? Are they just trying to annoy her and keep her from doing her homework? Is twinsies just a metaphor for procrastination? Because, that's pretty deep for an 8-year-old kid. But they were in her room. They had the chance to kill her if that was their goal, which I'm assuming it was because that's how all horror movies end, right? But why are they outside now? Are they trying to lure her outside? Are they trying to get away from the house? Maybe there's a bomb threat? I'm not sure. Let's just keep reading and let's find out. So Amanda ran outside and saw 2 5-year-old twin blonde girls with pretty white dresses. One was short, one tall. Okay, they're twin blonde girls and they're 5 years old. So I'm pretty sure that one of them wouldn't have had a growth spurt before the other. Maybe they're fraternal. I'm not sure. I like that dresses are pretty. That's nice. Makes you feel a little bit, more comforted. I also kind of like that they're blonde because in most terrifying twin related things, they're brunettes. And we feel that they're overrepresenting us and us as brunettes. I think that, the horror industry could really use some more blondes. So I'm proud of, 8-year-old me for adding some diversity in there. That's pretty impressive. Okay. "Hey, let's show you something," they said in unison. They ran off. Amanda couldn't help following them. For some reason, it was tempting. "Close your eyes," they said, then. Sorry, I can't read. When Amanda was coming around the corner of an alley. Oh my god, this is okay. She felt herself hoisted onto a platform, but suddenly she started choking and she couldn't breathe. Oh my god. Wait, okay. "Now open," they said. She was hanging from her neck on a noose, and her uncle was hanging next to her. But before she could do anything, the shorter girl shot her with a rifle. I have no words. I don't know what to say. That's literally the most absolutely insane thing that I have ever heard in my whole life. So, okay, let's just do a quick recap before I finish the story, because it's not over. Surprisingly, she is dead, but it isn't over yet. So these twinsies, they brought her outside. They took her to an alley. Apparently, she didn't know where she was going. They told her to close her eyes, but I don't know how she would have walked into the alley and then closed her eyes and still not seen the fact that there was a platform with a noose, and that her dead uncle was hanging there too. Also, what is the point of bringing her out there, hanging her from the noose, and then shooting her? Is there, like, a goal there? Like, she was gonna die anyway. Were they just trying to make sure that she died? I mean, I don't know. This is pretty crazy. I don't know why these 5-year-old girls are so murderous. But yeah, that's pretty, wow. For an 8-year-old child, that's pretty gory. And, I just have no words. That's so incredible. All right, let's keep going. Amanda's mother hadn't heard anything of Amanda. She'd looked everywhere, and Amanda was nowhere in the house. Okay, so I was right about my theory about Amanda being a kid, obviously, because she had homework to do, and now her mom lives with her, so I'm assuming she's not a college student, and I'm assuming that she's supposed to be, younger. Especially because she's so naive that she would follow 2 5-year-old twin girls back into an alley just to be shot and hung. So, why did I specify that? And I'm not sure if I wrote this one or if Natalie wrote this one. I think we wrote it together, cooperatively, but it's still just pretty terrible, I have to say. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the fact that the age makes no sense and the will of the uncle makes no sense. We're just going to keep going. We are giving in to the wackiness of it all. She looked everywhere and Amanda was nowhere in the house. Just as she was about to search again, the neighbor across the street, Mrs. Madison, called and said she'd seen Amanda running off with 2 identical little girls. Excuse my almost Gru-sounding girls. As I said before, I can't read, I'm illiterate. Mrs. Green thanked Mrs. Madison, but she was thinking about a newspaper article she'd read. "Local man last seen with little blonde twins," it had said. I don't know why she remembers that so perfectly. That's pretty impressive. Also, why is she reading a newspaper? This is supposed to be set in present day, right? I'm just shocked at every little detail in the story. Okay. So Mrs. Green went searching a place Mrs. Madison had said she'd last seen Amanda, although, what? Because she never said that she saw where Amanda was. She just said she'd seen Amanda running off with 2 identical little girls, as I said. What? Why does she know this? Why did Mrs. Madison know this? I'm so confused. So when she turned the corner of an alley, there was Mrs. Green's brother and Amanda hanging from a noose. I guess they're hanging from the same noose. Mrs. Green screamed and dialed 911. But this is what answered. 2 5-year-old girls saying, "Twinsies, twinsies, we are the twinsies, and you'll die next." But no one ever found out that those were Mrs. Madison's children, and she was dead too. The end. I must say, out of okay, if I had to give this, something out of 10, I would say I would say for an 8-year-old girl writing this, 2 8-year-old girls writing this, I do have to take into account the fact that 2 people wrote this. So I think I will lower my scale then, because it definitely could have used some proofreading by either person, but I'm pretty impressed. I'm not gonna lie, by the creativity and the horror of it all. I mean, if I saw my brother and my child hanging from the same noose, that would be pretty scary as well. I don't want the twinsies to come to my house and then lure me outside. I don't want an 1800s phone in my closet that just rings and answers by itself. I mean, that's pretty scary. One thing I do have to wonder, though, is why there's so many plot holes. Like, Amanda's mother had been looking for her this whole time, even though it leads me to believe that she was in the house the whole time, so she could have heard Amanda running upstairs and she could have heard, them on the phone. I'm just very confused by it all, but also amused by it all. And the fact that that rhymes is also pretty cool. So I'm going to give this one, a solid 7.5 out of 10. I mean, that's a pretty good rating, so... Okay, there's one more story in this collection, and then they just kind of stop. There's one that was started but never finished, and I'm not going to read it because I don't know how to pronounce half of the words that were made up in it. So we're going to read The Bottles of Permanent Ink, which is the next short story in the Nightmare's Guide collection. This is also, I wanted to add, Nightmare's Guide Volume 1. There was apparently supposed to be a second volume, but I've searched everywhere and there isn't. So that's pretty ominous. I wonder if it got lost, among, all the... I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I'm just so shocked by that last story. So The Bottle of Permanent Ink, this one I do remember I wrote myself. This is not one that Natalie wrote with me. And so I'm just really interested to see how my writing, by myself was without being dependent on hers. So we're gonna find out. So this is Bottles of Permanent Ink. 1923. Georgia was down in the dumps. That is an incredible start. That is an incredible start to any story ever. That's incredible to play on their last name like that. And then specify that it was in the dumps, just in case you were wondering where she was down. She was down in the dumps. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Okay, let's keep going. Georgia hated homework. Oh my god, what is up with these stories and homework? Is this just showing that homework kills children? Is this the whole message? I'm shocked. This is solid gold. All right, let's continue. Georgia hated homework. Everybody did. She couldn't think of one person who didn't, but for some reason, teachers still made kids do their homework. But the reason she hadn't done her homework last night wasn't because of this. It was because she'd run out of ink for her quill pen. I just really want to look up for a second. I would like to remind everyone this story takes place in 1923. When were pens invented? All right, just as I thought, 1888. So, the fact that she, in 1923, was using a quill pen as her main, line of how she would be doing her homework, is, it's pretty dedicated to that whole I was born in the wrong generation phenomenon. So, points for determination, points for dedication, that's impressive. I'm surprised that your parents never tried to buy you a pen or a pencil. Let's just make sure that pencils were invented by then. I don't know why they wouldn't be. When were pencils invented? 1564. So there were actually plenty of options that you could have used instead of a quill pen, but that's some incredible dedication. So I applaud you on that. All right, let's continue. She looked at the 50 cents in her hand. It was enough to buy 3 bottles of ink. She looked around and then she saw it. The ink shop. Perfect. So I love that she is just on the street as a child, looking around for a shop that would possibly have ink, because she doesn't know, where there would be any. And conveniently, right there is a shop called The Ink Shop, which is just the best plot convenience I have ever heard. So let's continue. Yuck. The store smelled as bad as the landfill pile in her backyard. Maybe even worse. So my question is, why is there a landfill pile in her backyard? Is there like a reason for that? Does she live like right next to the dump? Because I'm pretty sure, with my knowledge of history, that they did have, landfill areas by 1923. So unless she lives, in a city and there's just trash roaming the streets, I'm just and then I would be wondering why she has a backyard if she lives in an apartment or a complex. I don't know. The historical and, intellectual level of it all is, I don't know, pretty impressive to me. And just to be clear, that's sarcastic. Let's continue. But she stood tall and looked around. 3 perfect bottles of ink stood on one shelf. 7 red ink bottles sat next to it. But nothing was perfect for homework paper. I do have to wonder, they never say in this one, is what is perfect for homework paper. But I am surprised that there is a certain type of ink that is perfect for homework paper. I didn't know that there was such a thing as homework paper, but wow, I'm just learning so much. Let's continue. And then she saw in the aisle marked permanent ink, there were 3 bottles of black ink that suited her just fine. So I would like to question this story really quick. Why is there an aisle marked permanent ink? Because I'm pretty sure with my knowledge of ink, it's all permanent. You can't erase it, and erasable pens, didn't come out until like 2000s. So, why should it not all be marked permanent ink? I wonder if this is like tattoo ink. I'm not sure, but that's pretty odd. Let's keep going. Georgia took the 3 bottles of ink, which were surprisingly not sticky. I don't know why that's surprising, but okay. And gave 2 quarters to the man at the wooden counter. He took the money and put it in one of his drawers. But then he saw the bottles Georgia was holding. Are you sure you want those? I've got some better permanent ink in the back, and if you'd like a discount with it. I'm fine, Georgia insisted and left the store. So I guess she didn't pay for it. Oh no, wait, she did. I just can't read, as I said. But something happened when she got home. Something literally blood-curdling. Georgia dropped a splatter of ink on her arm and didn't think anything about it. About 73 seconds later, Georgia's skeleton was lying on the floor, obviously dead. That's not the end of it, believe it or not. There's more to come, but I just want to say really quick, that is some crazy strong corrosive acid. I have never heard of such a thing, which you drop 1 drop of it on your body and it just turns your entire body to a skeleton, melts at all of your skin, internal organs, and blood and everything, and doesn't touch your bones at all. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And it could be held in a glass container that was surprisingly not sticky. And the man didn't stop her from buying it. And somehow this ink also, can write on paper, but just can't be on humans. So I guess that is pretty permanent. Maybe that's why the aisle is marked permanent ink, because it's more like, more mortality ink. All right, let's keep going, because there is more. 2014, which is, I guess, when this story was written to scare the people that I love. Emma Derrick was just starting to get used to her new home. Also, I love all the names, Amanda Green, Georgia Down, and Emma Derrick. That is some creative writing right there. All right, let's continue. She was just starting to get used to her new home when school had to start up again, and on the second day, they were assigned homework. Emma groaned at that. She hated homework more than anything on earth. I love the homework thing. I love it. Emma was assigned a piece that required her to go out and buy ink and practice writing with an ink pen for her upcoming field trip. Emma found a store settled right next to her new home. It was really old and looked like it was going out of business. The faded sign read, "The Ink Shop." You know, I am so proud of the ink shop for lasting this long. Since 1923, you know, I think that ink probably would have gone out of, the popular wouldn't have been such a popular item anymore by 2014, but that's some impressive marketing. That's an impressive, business establishment. That's wow. Okay, I'm surprised. And to me, it seems like they don't have any chains because no one ever heard of the ink shop. So it's pretty impressive. They stayed in business all this time. All right, let's continue. Emma walked in and looked around. About everything had been bought out, and it smelled like dead fish. So here's something I'm wondering. Why does this place smell so bad? Because everybody is commenting on it. So it must be something with the ink. I have no idea. All right, let's continue. Also, I have a question. Why does her upcoming field trip require an ink pen? Like, what's the whole deal with that? Is it a trip to is it a trip in time? Is she going back to the 1800s? I don't know, but that's pretty odd. All right, let's continue. She plugged her nose and walked over to the last row, still stocked up. It was permanent ink, but she didn't care. She could cross things out. So Emma gave the man a surprising 2 quarters only. So I guess inflation never happened to this store. And then she left the store. Then she saw the warning on the back that said, "Warning, this ink is flammable and toxic to children." And Emma tried to go back into the store, but it had just closed down as she turned her heel and left the store. So I guess she leaves, and then the police come and just absolutely condemn it, because I don't know how it just immediately, right after she left, went out of business. That's so funny. Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, let's keep going. When Emma got back home, she went straight to her room. She got out a plain sheet of paper and started writing with a feather pen that had been drained of ink. The 5th drop splattered on her arm. I would also like to mention that all of the next few sentences are separated by indents. She left that drop alone. There is a skeleton in Emma's room now. It belongs to her. There's no the end, so I'm actually not sure if it did end, but that's that's that story. I don't really have any words for that one. It was super far-fetched, and I'm super confused, just like the last one. However, this one, I don't know, there wasn't that much, creative, gory, scariness in it, because I don't think any of us will ever be bothered by the ink shop ever again, considering that it went out of business the minute after she left. So, I've got to give that one about a 4 out of 10. I definitely could have used Natalie's help with that one, and I'm sad I didn't take it. Alright, well, that was Nightmare's Guide. I don't know how I feel now. I feel a little bit confused and also a little bit disturbed. So let's go into the older, parts of my life when I learned a little bit more about what a telephone is and what a pencil is. I think let's go to realistic fiction. And instead of doing, a book that I wrote with other people, let's just do a book I wrote myself. So this is when I do remember writing. I don't remember so much about the Nightmare's Guide, but this one I know I wrote in around 4th grade, 5th grade. So a little older, a little bit wiser. And This one I remember, I thought it was going to be my big break as an author. I thought that it would, I totally thought that this was going to blow up and get published and all of that good stuff. So I'm really interested to see how this goes. So let's just jump right into it. Let's just jump directly deep dive into it. Also, there's like a truck backing up somewhere far away in the distance, so if you hear a really obnoxious beeping sound, that's what that is. Oh, it stopped. Well, that's excellent. All right. So this is the brilliant idea. I remember I made some cover art for this when I was little. And I thought it was the best drawing I've ever done. I've lost that paper, but I remember I looked at it a few years back, maybe 2 years back or something. I don't remember where the paper is now, but it is a pretty horrific drawing, and I'm just surprised that I thought it was the best thing in the world. But 5th grade me was pretty overconfident. Let's just share some fun facts about 5th grade me so you get to know the person that I was. So as we go into this, you aren't, confused about it too much. So basically, we had this play at the end of the year, and it was called Bones. It was a musical. And I mean, everybody knows who knows me that I really like to sing. It's obvious I'm singing all the time, nonstop, and my family and friends have all asked to, get away from me, file restraining orders, or just, plug their ears because my voice is so shrill and terrible that no one wants to hear it for a prolonged amount of time. So, but as a 5th grader, I thought that my voice was the best in the West. I don't know why I said it like that, but sorry, that was a really stupid joke. Sorry. I don't know why that was so fun to me. Anyway, that was stupid. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, I thought my voice was really good. So during this play, the way that you would audition is you got up and you sang the national anthem. And I remember that everyone else was like auditioning for this play and for this show, whatever. And I got up, actually a bunch of other people got up before me because my last name starts with a W, so it I'm obviously last for most things. So we were going in alphabetical order, and if you wanted to try out, you could. It wasn't very standard. It was just pretty relaxed and casual, but you did have to sing in front of the whole class and show you could sing in front of an audience and whatever. I remember thinking as everybody else was standing up, I was like, wow, they're so bad. They're so much worse than me. And I genuinely thought this, and I'm so glad that I've had the chance, to grow up and, humble myself a little bit. Because, I don't know. It's pretty incredible how stuck up I was. So let's just get into a little bit of this. It's a chapter book. Oh, by the way, I did get the lead for that musical, just saying. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Anyway, so this one is a chapter book. So I'm just going to go through the first chapter, and then I'll tell you a little bit about, like, what happens for the rest of the story, because I do remember writing this, and then we'll read the end. We will read the ending, and then I got one more story left for you. I don't want to take up too much of your time with this podcast. I just thought it would be a nice way to get a few laughs and make some commentary. Okay, so this is called The Brilliant Idea. This is chapter 1. Let's start. 7 times I'd tried it, and 7 times I'd failed. Sophie Zachman rushed past me as Coach Addie blew her whistle to signal that it was time to line up. I ran to the bleachers with my messenger bag banging against my leg. Then I opened it and pulled my knee-high socks and my soccer cleats on. I stopped for a second to catch my breath, then raced over to Sophie. All right, kiddos, it's time to get serious, so forget all about unicorns and rainbows and start thinking about the soccer ball and the field, Coach Addie announced, making sure to say each word very loudly and clearly. Chloe Adams, who was on the other end of the line, slowly raised her hand. Coach Addie, she asked, now waving her hand very impatiently. I assumed she had to use the restroom, but that wasn't it at all. Yes, Chloe, what is so important that you just can't wait to share it with the team? How do we forget about rainbows when there's one right over our heads? Yeah, Chloe isn't the smartest. We bounced into our normal groups because of course we needed competition to play our game. We got a few minutes of practice dribbling, kicks, passes, and gold blocks. I did mostly kicks, but some dribbling. I passed the ball to Sophie a few times. However, I did not do any goal blocks. I would just like to preface the rest of this by saying I didn't know anything about soccer. I've hated soccer my whole life. It's not a sport that I've really ever been able to get into. Nothing against the people who like it. I just don't personally find it very entertaining. But I know nothing about soccer, so I don't know what's happening during this soccer meet, but my cousin, who I mentioned before, lives in Illinois, and she plays soccer all the time, and she read this one time, and she was like, "What are these words that you put in here?" And I was like, I don't know, but I love that I didn't fix it anyway or ask her anything about it. That's the really cool thing about making stories as a kid, is you never do any research because you don't think that you need it, because it's all just in your head. But yeah, that's pretty incredible. All right, let's keep going. Coach Addie blew her whistle and had us line up again, this time next to our passing partners. I stood next to Sophie and waited for directions. Today, she announced again. I don't know why she has a New York accent, and I don't know why I'm so bad at it. I'm sorry. She announced again, very still, loudly and clearly. Today you are going to be assigned jobs. I will start with Team 1. Patricia, Courtney, Emily, and Allie, you're on defense for your team. Sophie, Clary, Clara, and Song, you're on offense. And to mix things up a bit, Avery, you're goalie. On to Team 2. I felt like I had died. Avery, it's not that bad, Sophie tried to tell me. I wasn't buying it. Just because you never tried before doesn't... I did try it 7 times, actually, and 7 times I failed, and now I can count the 8th time I tried it and failed. I know it. I know I'm going to fail today. It's no different than all the other times I tried it and failed. Failed! I yelled. I love the way that I'm speaking today. It's really awesome. I yelled, and with that, I stomped off to the bleachers. I sat and waited for someone to come yell at me to get off the bleachers and get in front of the goal. But instead, Coach Addie came up to me and started patting my back. I looked up at her, and for the first time ever, apparently, first time ever, she smiled. I know it's tough right now, but you'll get over it soon enough, she said, and for the first time ever, she said it softly. Oh, I'm sorry. Plus, your team needs you. Do you really want to let them down? If this were a real game, the team would need you more than anything. Really? Was all I said. Really, she replied. Now go get him, Tyga. And for the first time in, I don't know how many forevers, her eyes looked kind. I considered this, and remembering how happy she had been when she told me this, I got up and nodded and raced over to the goal in record time. Clara got to the first ball that was heading towards the goal, which was not a problem for me. The second one went straight over the goal, and the third went around it. But the fourth... It was hurling straight toward my forehead, and I put my hands up to block it, but I missed, and it smacked me somewhere on my face. I don't remember every detail about that moment. All I was aware of was the surging pain going through my left eye and my forehead, plus my left arm, which must have been what I used to pick my fall. I sleepily opened my right eye, my left one too painful to open. My vision was sort of blurry. I must have been crying. Hit the ground faster than a porcupine giving a dog a piggyback ride, I heard someone say. This had to be my mom. She was always making weird comments like that. We're very sorry about your daughter, Mr. and Mrs. Blue. We did the best we could. I heard another voice say, oh my god, is she dead? Well, okay, obviously she's not dead. All right. This one I did not recognize. I took my good arm and wiped the tears out of my eye. Sure enough, there were 3 figures standing there, 2 being my parents and the other one being a doctor or a nurse. Oh, look, honey, she's awake, interrupted my mom. Where am I asked. I didn't sound like I could communicate very well. You're at the hospital, sweetie, my dad said. The hospital? I panicked. I felt like I had something in my throat. I tried to get up, but it felt like something was weighing me down. I sat back down in defeat. You're very lucky not to have a serious injury, my dad said with concern. Yes, and speaking of which, there's something we need to tell you, my mom added. I gave a concerned look, confused by what she meant. Fred? My mom asked my dad slowly. Fine, I'll tell her, but if she cries, I'm blaming it on you. This is a quality marriage. Oh my god. fantastic. But just before he tell me, there was a knock on the door and the whole team came in. Coach Abby held a blue slip in her hand. Her eyes were red from crying. It's for the best, she said. Oh, wait. It's for the best, she said, and handed me the blue slip. This is what it said. We are sorry. We're sorry, but because of your injury and the denial of your instructor, you are not allowed to play on your team due to the risk of being hurt again. Oh my god, that's so funny. And then she says this: I suddenly remembered my hurt arm. I took one look at it and I was heartbroken. And that's the end of the chapter. That is so funny that her coach came into her hospital room, as she's getting, her arm repaired or whatever, gives her this blue slip that says, we're sorry, but you're not allowed to play on our team anymore. And due to the way that it's phrased, I don't think she's ever allowed to play again, which is that's so funny, honestly. This is honestly hilarious. I have to say, this is one of the best things I think I've ever read, because her arm is broken, so she's not allowed to play on the soccer team. But she was only goalie once, and that's obviously not her standard position, so she's not even allowed to go around and kick the ball. That's so sad. This is genuinely devastating. So I'm not going to read the rest of it to you. I just wanted to give you a little taste of it. A little nibble. So basically what happens is she has this whole big idea that instead of playing, because her parents basically say we don't have enough money to keep you on the soccer team or have you do any other sport, and they're like, it was convenient that you got hurt because we couldn't afford it anyway. So she has this whole idea that she is gonna make this big, I don't know, lemonade stand, and then they're gonna sell it. Sell lemonade. It's pretty great idea, and I'm so glad that I named the entire story after it. The brilliant idea. So, and then what happens is she and her best friend Sophie end up doing ballet instead of soccer. So that's the whole story. That's pretty. Let's read the little end paragraph I wrote. I kind of miss soccer, Sophie said, looking beautiful in her black leotard and red rose tutu. Nice. Good one, Ella. Tutu. I do too, but today is a new start, and we should always appreciate new starts, I declared as I dipped gracefully into a pirouette. And it was a new start, a challenging one that involved lots of practice, but Sophie and I were ready to face it. What an inspiring ending. I'm so confused by the whole story, and the fact that I never finished it and just wrote the ending. I wrote three chapters, but at the end of chapter 3, I just wrote the ending. So the fact that I never finished it, the fact that the lack of dedication to it, it lowers my expectations a little bit for myself. Man, I think out of 10, I gotta give that one a 5. A 5 for, having the plot generally figured out, but yeah. Okay, so I have one more story for you today. I wanted to go from, 3rd grade to 5th grade and then to 7th grade. And then I remembered, and this is such an embarrassing part of the past to be putting on the internet, but I thought I would anyway, just for the sake of laughing at myself and the sake of being a little bit cringy. As we all know, or maybe we don't all know, but I used to have a Minecraft channel. I'm not going to give you the name of it because I really don't want people going there and bullying me. I would like to say, however, I do have 41 subscribers on that channel, so that's pretty impressive. But I had that Minecraft channel in my middle school years, and my middle school years are known to be the worst, most cringy years of my life. And, most people say middle school is horrible for them, but for me, especially, it was a pretty dark, horrible, awful time. That's when I started, dealing with mental health. That's when I started dealing with friendships and bullying and et cetera, et cetera. But I had a really hard time, growing up into my middle school self. And so I turned to a lot of, more like I guess younger activities. So I played Minecraft. I had my Minecraft channel. And then one thing that is such a shameful part of my past and I will never ever get over, I used to really be into My Little Pony, the show. Friendship is magic. And I don't admit that to a lot of people, so, I figured today, why not admit it to an entire platform of people who could absolutely make fun of me for anonymously and callously. Sounds like a great idea, but it's just such a funny part of my past, and I couldn't help it. I have to read this to you. So, here is the story. So I used to really like My Little Pony Friendship and Magic. And at that time I was also getting into some more adult things. So I was starting to read fanfiction a little bit. So I started, yes, you're hearing this right. I started to write My Little Pony fanfiction. Yes, true facts about Ella. And I'm I'm curious if any of you are actually interested in going back and reading some of these. I wrote 3 stories. One of them was a mature story, which I guess is supposed to be about sex, which I, as a 11-year-old child, definitely didn't know anything about whatsoever. I remember one time in 5th grade, I had this friend, and she was showing me, salad fingers when that was going around. And he was like, it feels like orgasms. And I was like, what the fuck is an orgasm? I was just so confused. And I'm not, gonna go into any details. This is a family show, as I just dropped an F-bomb. But, no, I really didn't know anything about it. And it's funny because I never actually wrote the sex part of the story. I just stopped writing it before I got to it. So I went back and I read that. It was pretty funny, but a little bit too long to read to y'all today. So instead, I'm going to go to one of the other stories I've had. If you are curious about that whole story, my username was Onward Twilight on fanfiction.net. And I did have to sign up for this site with my own personal email address just to get back to this old account. So yes, do I regret it? Yes. Is it shameful? Yes. Was there any good that came out of it? I mean, a funny story, but that's really all I have to show for it. So, all right, let's just get into it. So I think the one I'm going to read to you today, okay, so let's see. I could read Twilight Meets the Internet, or I could read What Was Said, because these are both, one chapter stories. But the one that's shorter is What Was Said, so I think we're going to read that one just for the sake of time. Okay, so this is What Was Said. Again, it's Onward Twilight. You can go back and read my other stories. One of them is called Twilight Meets the Internet, and the other one is called Dashing Apples. I was really into that ship between Rainbow Dash and Applejack. Super into it. So, that's how my childhood innocence was taken away. If anyone was wondering, that's how it was removed from my being. One thing about the site that I haven't been on in a really long time, I'm really surprised to see that it got 80 likes, 7 dislikes. I'm just surprised that it had so much publicity, 9 comments, and freaking 2,988 total views. And that's just insane because I haven't read it yet, and I actually haven't read it in quite a few years. But from the very first sentence that I'm reading right now, I am shocked. All right, let's read it. Okay, so this is called What Was Said, and the little one chapter thing is called Few Words Exchanged. And it's prefaced with this little summary. It says, in the first Equestria Girls, which is for those of you who are uncultured in the My Little Pony realm, it was I'm so ashamed of my past. I'm sorry. It was the movie version of whatever, My Little Pony, the show, and in the show, they're ponies, and then in the movie they're humans, and basically go to this alternate dimension where they're humans. I don't know, it's weird, but okay, so it's prefaced by saying, in the first Equestria Girls, they don't tell us what Applejack and Rainbow Dash actually say to each other on the field. Now you know. And this again is a ship, or relationship when you are shipping people together. I hope I don't have to explain that any further. I don't want to. It makes me uncomfortable. And this whole thing is genuinely making me sweat a little bit. So let's just get into it right now. All right. So this is what was said, few words exchanged. Rainbow Dash, Canterlot High School's best female athlete, was just about to hit another black and white sphere into the dark bluish tinted net with amazingly awesome perfect aim. So right off the bat, incredible description of a soccer ball. Black and white sphere. That is fantastic. I don't know why. I wouldn't just call it a soccer ball, but that's pretty great. I'm impressed. All right, we'll keep going. Her eyes scrunched up in concentration as she tried to focus all of her brain power on the ball. If she was going to kick this ball as well as she had the others, then she needed a perfect focus. Rainbow's eyes expertly fixated on the sphere. Again, you could just call it a ball. And she lifted her nimble leg cautiously so as not to upset the earth underneath her. Don't know why you have to do that. I'm pretty sure if you lift your leg, it is not going to upset the earth underneath you, but okay. Finally, Rainbow stood in the perfect stance, ready to make one of the best goals of her life. That is, Rainbow was ready, right up until her great and daring feat was interrupted by an annoying and loud country accent. I'm going to do my best attempt at a country accent like that mom from the story earlier. Let's try it. Hey, Rainbow Dash! The voice called, snapping said girl out of her concentration. Rainbow Dash abruptly stopped kicking soccer balls into the overly decorated goal, whipping around to see none other than Applejack. They had been dating for a while, until Applejack had gone and lied to Rainbow for one of her big bake sale events. Rainbow Dash was supposed to bring the softball team to support it, but when Applejack bluffed about the date, Rainbow had showed up with the entire softball team to an empty field. Then a couple days later, Applejack broke up with Rainbow Dash over the phone, bearing no explanation, and was never to be heard from again. Wow, brutal. Wow, alright. In other words, Rainbow Dash was more than a little bit frustrated with the cowgirl. What do you want? Rainbow sneered. Also, that's my great impression of Rainbow Dash from what I remember of how she sounds. Pretty terrible, I'm sure. But I'm not gonna do any research about it because that would be stupid and a huge waste of my time. This whole thing, I would just like to add as a side note, is a huge waste of my time. Going back and reading all of these, but for the pure sake of going back, having a little bit of a laugh, I think it's a good idea. Truly I do. All right, let's continue. Her hand on her hip in disgust. It wasn't helping that Applejack looked absolutely gorgeous in this light, and that she had her beautiful blonde hair in its usual loose ponytail tied back with her usual maroon hair tie, and that Rainbow cut off her trail of thought, not wishing to be overcome by Applejack's stunning beauty again. This is why I've been so hard on Rainbow after the breakup, because every time she saw Applejack, it was like another reminder of what she was still missing out on. Every time she saw Applejack, it was like all the good memories flowed back into her brain instead of the bad ones, and suddenly she had no reason to be angry anymore. Dash had to be angry. Without a reason to be angry, there was no way Rainbow could ever come the sadness that would follow. Without a reason to be angry, Dash would become the school softie and dismiss her title of best female athlete. I'm pretty sure that if you change, your outlook on life, that doesn't change the fact that you're a good athlete, but sure, okay. Heck, she might even give up sports forever out of depression or sadness or something. Rainbow was not going to let that happen, and if she had to put a wall up around herself to protect that, so be it. She would build that wall. This is also before Trump, but honestly, really good psychic abilities as well there. I think I might actually have been a little bit psychic, but it's all right. Okay, let's keep going. Rainbow had just finished putting all her defenses before hearing Applejack's tired sigh. Dash, stop. I came to make amends. Applejack pointed an index finger at Rainbow, who in turn raised her eyebrows, surprised. Really? Rainbow Dash lowered her hand to her side in surrender. meant in surrender. Never once did Rainbow think that the next time Applejack talked to her, it would be to apologize. Maybe some more yelling or something about how Dash was so not loyal, or that Applejack could never depend on her. That's a really weird way to phrase that, but alright. Rainbow had never known Applejack to be very forgiving. Yes, really. Listen, I'm sorry that I did that. It wasn't very certain of me. Applejack blushed, obviously embarrassed about having broken up with Dash via text message. Oh, so she didn't even break up with her over a call. She just texted her. She was just like, we're done. I love that. Incredible. Wow. And I wanted to tell you something. Rainbow smiled genuinely and cut Applejack off, knowing extremely well what Applejack was about to say. It was Sunset Shimmer, wasn't it? I knew it couldn't have been you. Applejack, someone left me a message from an anonymous number claiming they were you and told me it was moved to another day. That's why I didn't show up to your bake sale and why I thought you lied to me. Applejack threw her hands up in the air and grinned from ear to ear. I knew it! Dash, you're the most loyal person I know. I knew you wouldn't lie to me. Both girls blushed a little at their confessions. Maybe they had been a little impulsive with their ways of splitting apart, and maybe they should have made a better effort to talk to each other after the mix-up. But it didn't matter now. There was no possible way yet to change the past. Okay. All that mattered was that maybe they could start again. Dash grinned and shrugged, and Applejack did the same. It appeared to Rainbow that they had been thinking the same thing all along. They needed each other, now more than ever. They needed to be in each other's embrace, to feel the space between them close, and the silent battle that they had been having for over a year needed to be over. This was not the Applejack show anymore, or the Rainbow Dash show. Now it was going to be the Rainbow Dash and Applejack show, and for as long as they could manage, this show would air. Incredible. That was fantastic. Poetry at its finest. What a talented lady. Oh my god. Alright, let's continue. Throwing their arms around one another, both Rainbow Dash and Applejack started to feel just a little better about the whole thing. Applejack had definitely changed from her old impulsive self, and Rainbow appreciated it. Dash kept her eyes closed in the warm embrace so as not to upset the balance in their world at that moment. But Rainbow, being the daredevilish risk-taker that she was, decided that maybe she could just try one more thing. Rainbow's left eye popped open. Applejack? Oh, sorry. Applejack, she whispered carefully into the cowgirl's ear. Yeah, Sugar Cube? Applejack's eyes were still shut. Oh my god. Saying that, I'm so sorry. That made me so uncomfortable. Okay. You could hear the nervousness in her tone from a mile away. I love you, Rainbow mumbled and hugged the cowgirl tighter. Me too, Sugar Cube. Applejack's tone embodied relief, and her strong arms found some way to pull the athletic girl even closer. I just love that instead of saying I love you too, she said me too. So that leads me to believe that she just loves herself. That's pretty great. And that's also how I would respond to anyone saying I love you to me. Alright, author's note. That was the end, by the way. That's the end. It just ends. Author's note. Yeah, I know, this was really short and kind of rushed, but you have to admit, it was really cute. I mean, not really, but okay. I don't expect high praise for this. Just an idea I've had for a while that I wanted to get out. Hope you enjoy. And I was going back and looking at some of the comments earlier. I didn't read the story, but I wanted to see, some of the things people said. So the first comment is, cute and to the spot. Given the fact that happened fast and off here range, I can buy that. Very cool. Then there was a comment that was deleted. Then there was shut up Thunderlane. I don't know what that means. Yeah, bring the Apple Dash. Waiting eagerly for the day of the bulk biceps pony emoji. Reading this makes me want to tear my eyeballs out. That's not comment. That's just me saying that right now. This is a comment. Decent story, but I don't think AJ having a relationship with RD makes C, given her character and her traditional vows. Ironically, I had the same view as you when imagining a fight between Pinky and Fluttershy, as they were in a relationship. Okay, thank you. I don't like Apple Dash, but this is so cute. Okay, and then I responded to all these people. So to the first one I said, thanks, I didn't have the big time range to work with, so I tried to make this kind of short. Not shot, I made it short. Glad that it sounds believable. Then the next one I said, good point. Oh, it's the deleted comment, so I don't really know I responded to someone else but didn't say anything. Responded to another person and said, yeah, it's all muscles, okay? The next one said, just a little bit of a tidbit of mine. I did have a hard time reading and understanding comment. Woo! Nice. That was a good one because he had so many typos. That's a good one. But thanks for the feedback. I could also see this happening between Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, but there wasn't really an out of earshot fight with them. Also, I don't think that Applejack has had... What? I can't read. Also, I don't necessarily think that Applejack has too many bad feelings toward things that weren't originally part of her views. I think that if she wanted to expand on her views, she could, but that's just my opinion. Thanks for reading. Aw, I was actually very nice responding to all these people. These very nerdy people. Like, okay, I don't want to, shame anybody for things that they like, because I think that you should be allowed to like whatever you want. But to like My Little Pony as an adult or even as a middle schooler, it's a kid's show. It's a kid's show. And not only is it a kid's show, but it's one of the cringiest among the kids shows. Like, I can see being an adult and, I don't know, liking Gravity Falls or Phineas and Ferb, because those are some pretty incredible kids shows that have some actually really cool themes and mystery elements. And, I mean, I will forever appreciate and enjoy those shows, but this it's just so cheesy and it's just so bad. And I just can't. I just it's so embarrassing sharing this with the world. Yeah. All right. So again, you can go back if you wish to go and read some of those other ones. But I'm really glad that I got to spend the time today sharing something about me with the rest of the world. It's really fun to go back and look at some of the old things that you've done and just, feel a little bit nostalgic, because even though it's embarrassing, it's fun to see like how you were shaped up as a kid, how you grew up, basically. I think it's really interesting going back and seeing some of the old things that I enjoyed and was into. I'm just so shocked that it was My Little Pony, especially as an 11-year-old. That's just so... Oh, man. All right. Well, I think I've talked on long enough. I think I've shared enough with you, made fun of myself enough. Hopefully next time we can do this with some of the other people who appear on this podcast. But until then, I just hope that everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying inside and staying safe. I hope you're not too bored, cooped up in your houses. Spend some extra time with your family. Maybe even start a podcast. That's something that you could do, and it actually is pretty fun from my perspective. So, yeah, I think that this has been really interesting, pretty funny. I hope that you all could share a little bit of a laugh with me too in this, hard time. And if you have any short stories or weird things you did as a kid, I would love to hear. We have a Twitter. Yes, I know. So you can tweet at our Twitter, which is, I have to remember what it is. Hang on. It's been so long since I did an episode. So our Twitter is at whatever_this is. So you can totally tweet us with some stuff and some ideas of what to do for our next episode, because we're running out of stuff. I would love to get some of those lovely ladies back on this podcast with me, but it doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon. So I might update you next week even, just because I really have nothing better to do. And that is our show. I know it didn't have any of its traditional, segments or anything like that, but I hope that you had fun anyway. And I certainly had fun and was a little bit embarrassed. My face got a little red, got a little sweaty even. This is the perfect time to start taking care of yourself, drinking some water, getting some exercise, buy a treadmill, go for a run. Perfect time to read a book, catch up on a TV series. I haven't seen Tiger King yet. I don't plan on it. But, and just connect with friends through the internet, the interwebs. Perfect time to get a new router. Perfect time to communicate with some of the people that you love. As I said, spend extra time with family, puzzles, board games, all sorts of things that you can do. But make sure that you're staying inside, make sure you're keeping healthy, and I hope to talk to you all very soon. Hopefully not, months and months later. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you all next time. Good night.